the vastness of our planet, there is a place where the connection to the past is so intense that discovering it can be the closest thing to traveling back in time. In this new video from Uncensored World, we will learn about Ethiopia, a country famous not only for being one of the cheapest in the world, but also for the beauty of its men and women, ancestral tribes that exchange animals for wives, and ancient constructions carved into rocks hundreds of meters above the ground. A nation with unique traditions, such as ancestral societies with men who have several wives, cities where the inhabitants treat one of the most dangerous animals in Africa as a pet, or controversial traditions such as the Ororo's abduction wedding, the Hamar's bull jumping and whipping, or the Caro's potentially lethal marriages. The region where Lucy, one of our earliest ancestors known as the first woman of humanity, was discovered. A territory that contains the hottest spot on Earth, where a mysterious tribe manages to survive temperatures at which any human being would disappear in less than an hour. The country where coffee was discovered, when shepherds noticed how red berries gave their goats supernatural powers. A region that holds secrets such as the Ark of the Covenant, a sacred relic jealously guarded by a revered monk known as the Guardian of the Ark, on a mysterious island bordered by waters teeming with crocodiles. Pay attention and don't miss this video to learn about the curiosities that make Ethiopia one of the most fascinating corners of the Earth. Let's get started. As you are about to see, traveling through Ethiopia, with its impressive ancient cities and churches or buildings carved into the rocks, is the closest thing to traveling back in time. Its rich cultural heritage, unique architecture, and ancestral tribes and traditions make exploring this country the closest thing to immersing yourself in another distant time, where life worked differently. Located in the Horn of Africa, in the northeast of the African continent, Ethiopia is a country with rugged and varied terrain, often extreme, which has a lot to do with its fascinating reality. Its landscapes include high mountains and desert regions, with a climate that varies dramatically from arid and hot areas, containing the hottest point on Earth, to cool and mountainous areas that are often frozen. This geographical complexity has influenced its history and culture in an extraordinary way, as you will now see. With a population of over 120 million, Ethiopia is the second most populous country in Africa, behind only Nigeria. Among its population, 70% are Christian, 29% are Muslim, and only 1% maintain traditional beliefs. Its population density is quite high, with large concentrations in urban areas such as Addis Ababa, the capital, and also in agricultural regions. Something that few people know is that Addis Ababa is one of the 4 highest capitals in the world, as it is located more than 3,000 meters above sea level. In addition, it is the second city with the most embassies in the world, surpassed only by Geneva in Europe. With an area of approximately 1.1 million square kilometers, Ethiopia is also one of the largest countries in Africa, comparable in size to countries such as Peru. Despite its enormous size, the population is distributed in communities that have maintained their traditions and ways of life over the centuries, such as the Karo, Hamar, and Ororo tribes, which maintain truly controversial traditions and rituals. Before delving into this, it is important to understand that Ethiopia's past is as fascinating as its terrain. In 1974, the country witnessed the discovery of Lucy, the oldest and most complete fossil of a modern Homo sapiens found to date. Her discovery in the Ethiopian Rift Valley has provided an invaluable window into the evolutionary past of our species, revealing crucial details about early human ancestors. Lucy's importance lies in her age and the exceptional state of preservation of the fossil, which dates back approximately 3.5 million years. It may seem strange that a mummy discovered in Ethiopia millions of years ago was given such a Western name. This is because the Beatles' song "Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds" was playing at the scientists' camp at the time of the discovery. Considered the mother of our species, Lucy represents a crucial link in the evolutionary process that led to the development of Homo sapiens. This direct connection to humanity's distant past makes Ethiopia a place of immense historical and scientific value, a discovery that reinforces the idea that Ethiopia has been one of the most important points in human evolution. Human evolution is reflected like nowhere else in the villages and ethnic groups that live in this country, maintaining truly amazing rituals and traditions. Among them, one of the most famous and photographed is the Harar tribe, a society as striking for the way they dye their hair and bodies as for their clothing or lack thereof, and above all for their customs, as they live today as they did thousands of years ago, exchanging cows for wives and practicing truly striking initiation rituals such as the one known as the Bull Festival. This link between men, women, and cattle, which is also shared by other neighboring tribes such as the Caro, culminates in the most important ritual for the young men of the Harar, the Bull Festival, the Harar initiation ceremony, where young men must climb onto the backs of bulls without clothes, demonstrating courage and strength to be recognized as adult men. The Bull Festival, known among the Harar as Ukuli Bula, is the central ritual that marks the passage of young men into adulthood. This ceremony does not have a fixed date on the calendar, but is celebrated when the community considers that a group of young men has reached sufficient maturity, usually around the age of 15 or 16. When this occurs, the elders and tribal leaders are responsible for determining who is ready to participate, based on their strength, skill, and knowledge of customs. The origin of Ukuli Bula dates back to ancient times and is deeply linked to the importance of cattle in Harar society. The test symbolizes a young man's ability to face physical challenges, take on responsibilities within the community, and demonstrate that he is prepared to care for cattle and his future family. Every aspect of the ritual has meaning for them, from the selection of the bulls to the arrangement of the spectators, which includes family members and members of the entire village. The ritual begins with the preparation of the bulls, animals that represent strength and endurance for this tribe. The young men must run and jump over the backs of at least 7 bulls, lined up one after another, to pass the test and be considered adults. This act is not a physical spectacle, but rather a test of courage, balance, and endurance, as any fall can mean that the young man will have to wait longer before being recognized as an adult. The number of bulls and the difficulty of the test vary according to the local tradition of each Harar village. The participation of women, and the way they do it, is one of the most striking and eye-catching elements of the Bull Festival and of the tribes of the country and the world, as during this ceremony, controversial as it may seem, some women ask to be whipped with sticks, showing courage, commitment to tradition, and pride in their community. This act, far from being an obligation, is voluntary and desired. For them, receiving the lashes is a symbol of strength and a means of demonstrating their loyalty to the values of the tribe. The resulting scars are considered marks of honor, visible to all, and recognized as part of the body language of the community. The whipping also has a social and emotional component. During the ceremony, the women who participate show their endurance and beauty, which can attract the attention of the young men who are coming of age. This is a kind of ritual courtship and flirtation, although it does not imply immediate intimate relationships. Rather, it is a game of signs that allows young men and women to interact within the framework of tradition, and perhaps to consider who their future spouse might be. Passing the bull test means that the young Harar is considered an adult man within the community. Tribal leaders and elders watch closely, and only they can declare whether the young man has successfully completed the Ukuli Bula. Achieving this status means access to greater responsibilities, social recognition, and, in many cases, the right to marry and receive dowries of cows to start their own family. During the ceremony, young Harar men do not receive physical scars, but some villages do apply symbolic marks on their arms or backs to indicate that they have completed this initiation. These signs serve as visible testimony of bravery and maturity, similar to the scars of the women who participate in the whipping. On some exceptional occasions, symbolic prizes are awarded in recognition, which may include a young bull from the community herd or approval to choose their first wife. For the Hamer, every gesture, every jump over the bulls, and every lash is imbued with symbolism and tradition. In this way, the skin becomes a canvas that reflects courage, strength, and active participation in community life. For the Hamer, Ukulibula is not just a rite of passage, it is an act of identity, connecting young people with their ancestors, their livestock, and their community. This intense and visually striking ritual allows us to understand the interdependence between men, women, livestock, and community, showing how a ceremony can encapsulate centuries of tradition, culture, and symbolism in just a few hours of celebration. The clothing worn by the Hamer, or rather what they do not wear at all, is another striking feature. Due to the intense heat of the Omo Valley, the Hamer usually wear leather loincloths, belts, and various adornments instead of full clothing. Women, following tribal tradition, do not usually wear bras or tops to cover their torsos, as nudity is part of their culture and rituals, and has nothing to do with exhibitionism, but rather with ancestral practices adapted to the climate and environment. This lifestyle has nothing to do with exhibitionism. It is more of a ritual and cultural practice that symbolizes purity, connection to the earth, and authenticity within ceremony and everyday life. This life without clothes also makes sense when you look at the scars worn by Hamer men and women. For the members of this tribe, these marks are not mere adornments, as each scar has a deep meaning, representing courage, passage into adulthood, personal achievements, or loyalty to the community. Men, for example, often make ceremonial incisions on their arms, chest, or back, proudly displaying their strength and endurance, while women also bear marks symbolizing their dedication and participation in tribal rituals. In the case of women, some of these scars often come from the festival of the bull that you knew before, where they participate by asking to be whipped. As you can see, Ethiopia's history is marked by a rich heritage that dates back millennia. One of the most prominent figures in its rich cultural heritage is the Queen of Sheba, an emblematic figure from the Old Testament. According to Ethiopian scriptures and traditions, the Queen of Sheba undertook an epic journey from her kingdom, located in what is now the city of Aksum in northern Ethiopia, to Jerusalem. An epic journey, but surely less dangerous than the potentially lethal journey you will later learn about, undertaken by the men of the Caro tribe with the intention of finding a wife. But before that, let's return to the Queen of Sheba. Her visit to King Solomon's court is one of the most famous stories in the Bible, where her intelligence and wisdom left a lasting impression. This encounter between the Queen of Sheba and King Solomon not only marked a crucial moment in biblical history, but also cemented the connection between Ethiopia and ancient Jerusalem. The influence of the Queen of Sheba and her legacy are reflected in Aksum, her ancestral city, considered a sacred and central place in the history of Ethiopia. The kingdom of Aksum was one of the most powerful civilizations of the ancient world. Aksum is known for its monumental architecture and for being a center of trade and culture in the region, also standing out today as one of the most important and beautiful cities in Ethiopia. As we mentioned, there are numerous ethnic groups and societies in Ethiopia, many of them as ancient as the historic city of Aksum, which maintain ways of life that many of us might find surprising, even extreme. Among them, the way in which the Karo tribe obtains wives is particularly striking. To do so, the men must embark on dangerous adventures that, in some cases, can cost them their lives, facing the hostility of the terrain, the presence of predators, and the challenges of the Omo River. The Karo live in the Omo Valley in southern Ethiopia and are neighbors of tribes such as the Hamer. However, unlike other ethnic groups in the region, the Karo are extremely few in number, with some estimating that there are fewer than 1,000 individuals left. This scarcity makes them one of the most endangered tribes on the planet, facing a delicate balance between preserving their traditions and surviving in a hostile and changing environment. One of the most controversial and well-known practices of the Karo is the exchange of women for livestock, mainly goats, in contrast to the Hamer, who also practice this dowry but do so for cows. For them, livestock is much more than wealth. It is the basis of survival, family sustenance, and the continuity of the community. The more goats a man owns, the more wives he can support. Polygamy, therefore, is not only a status symbol but a survival strategy. Each wife contributes labor and household care, ensuring that the family and livestock can thrive in such a difficult territory. But the search for a wife is neither a simple nor a safe process. Men must often undertake long journeys from their villages to distant cities or markets, where they can obtain the livestock necessary for the dowry. This journey can cover dozens of miles across treacherous terrain, where lions, hyenas, and other predators stalk both the man and the livestock he is transporting back to the village. Every step requires extreme vigilance and strategy, making this expedition one of the most risky adventures of their lives. From Uncensored World, we hope that if you intend to get married or have already done so, the adventure will not be as dangerous as it is for the Caro. Leave us a like now to make it so. Thank you. To protect their families and livestock, the Caro have developed strategically organized circular villages, where mud, wood, and straw houses are arranged around a central open space. Livestock is concentrated in the center at night, and the men guard the perimeters, creating a natural protection system against predators. This architectural layout reflects not only ingenuity and adaptation, but also a deep understanding of nature and the hostile environment that surrounds them. Another unique Caro practice visible at first glance is the ceremonial V-shaped ear cut that some men perform to indicate that they are married. Each cut is a symbol of marital status, and in cases of polygamy, men may have several cuts, one for each wife, serving as a permanent reminder of their status and the responsibilities that come with it. The world of the Caro combines danger, strategy, and tradition in a delicate balance. Polygamy, risky journeys, fortified villages, and bodily symbols form a set of interdependent practices that have allowed them to survive for centuries in an environment where daily life is marked by drought, predators, and pressure from neighboring tribes. With each expedition, each cut in the ear, and each dowry of goats given, the Caro keep an ancient culture alive while facing the constant threat of extinction. They are few in number, isolated, and extremely vulnerable. But their history, rituals, and resilience make them one of the most fascinating and enigmatic human groups on the planet. A living legacy that seems frozen in time, but whose survival depends on the courage and cohesion of each member of the tribe. Goats and cows are probably as important to these tribes as one of humanity's most sacred relics, the Ark of the Covenant, which is kept in Axum. According to local beliefs, the Ark, which is said to contain the tablets of the Ten Commandments, is the most sacred object in Ethiopia and one of the most enigmatic spiritual treasures in the world. But few know that its custody is not the responsibility of a group or institution, but of a single monk, chosen by tradition and faith, the one known as the Kahin, or guardian of the Ark. This guardian lives in Axum, the ancient city made famous by the Queen of Sheba and the heart of the Aksumite kingdom. The Kahin's life is entirely devoted to the Ark, and no one outside the church knows his real name. Not even the parishioners know details of his personal history. His existence remains shrouded in secrecy, and he is allowed to see the relic only inside the small chapel, where it is kept. It is said that this monk possesses unwavering devotion, a spiritual discipline that makes him capable of giving his life to protect the Ark. No stranger may approach the chapel, and the guardian alone decides when and to whom ceremonial presence is granted. His life is a mixture of constant prayer, vigilance, and solitude, and his figure has become a symbol of mystery and power in Ethiopian tradition. Legend has it that even emperors and religious leaders respect his absolute authority over the Ark. For Ethiopians, the Kahin is the protector of history, faith, and the divine covenant, a man whose existence is inextricably linked to the Ark and whose mission transcends earthly life, becoming a guardian between the world of men and the sacred. The Ark is not located just anywhere. According to tradition, it is kept in a secret location, a sacred island, known only to a few. To reach it, it is said that it is necessary to ask permission from local religious leaders, and that no traveler can approach without proper authorization. Access to the Ark, even within the city, is exclusive and controlled, and can only be reached by boat or via paths guarded by custodian monks. The waters surrounding this legendary sanctuary are feared both for their depth and for the crocodiles that inhabit them, creatures that, according to stories, stalk those who try to approach without respect or permission. In this way, every journey to the Ark becomes an act fraught with risk, faith, and mystery. It is not just a matter of physical distance, but of overcoming the obstacles that tradition, nature, and legend have placed to protect the sacred. The Kahan ensures that only those who deserve to see the relic can approach it, making each encounter a unique moment charged with spiritual significance. The combination of secrets, danger, and custody has kept the mystery of the Ark intact for centuries, making Axum one of the most enigmatic places in the world. These mysteries and traditions may be related to Ethiopia's incredible resistance to colonization for centuries. In the 19th century, in the year 1896, the country became the first African state to defeat a European colonial power, Italy, at the Battle of Adwa. Thanks to this victory, Ethiopia maintained its independence while most of Africa was being colonized, becoming a unique case on the continent, which partly explains its strong cultural identity and the preservation of ancient traditions such as those surrounding the Ark and the tribes of the Omo Valley. The combination of its extreme geography, its leaders, traditions, and ability to survive has allowed this country to preserve secrets and cultural traditions that would seem like legends to the rest of the world. Although it suffered a brief Italian occupation in the 20th century, the nation has remained one of the few in the world that has never been completely colonized. This resistance to foreign domination has allowed Ethiopian customs, architecture, and rich cultural heritage to be preserved in their authentic and vibrant form. Many places in Ethiopia exceptionally preserve the essence of this magical country, among which, probably the one that best embodies this journey into the past, is Lalibela, one of the most surprising jewels of Ethiopian heritage, and surely one of the most extraordinary and wonderful churches on the planet. Lalibela is famous for its churches and the place where they are located. As strange as it may seem, these buildings are carved out of the rock, an architectural and spiritual marvel dating back to the 12th century. These churches in Lalibela were carved directly into the volcanic rock floor, a process that required incredible technical skill and deep devotion. The craftsmen began by digging from the top, carving downwards to create these monolithic structures. This method, known as rock carving, allowed the creation of churches that are completely integrated into the natural landscape. St. George's Church, with its cross shape and intricate details, is surely the best known, offering a glimpse into Ethiopia's deep religious and cultural heritage. In addition to Lalibela and Axum, the Rift Valley is one of the most impressive and fascinating settings, not only in this country, but in all of Africa. This valley is more like an immense geological fracture, crossing the east of the continent from the Red Sea to Mozambique, and can be seen from the air as a scar dividing Africa in two halves. Testimony to the titanic power of nature. This valley was formed millions of years ago due to the activity of tectonic plates. The Earth's crust slowly stretched and separated, creating a giant crack that sank between the higher edges. Over time, this process gave rise to mountains, volcanoes, rivers, and lakes, forming the enormous Rift Valley that we can see today. It is as if the Earth itself had split in two, leaving a deep scar that continues to change and move every year, albeit very slowly. This phenomenon not only created breathtaking landscapes, but also allowed for the emergence of new species and unique ecosystems. In Ethiopia, the valley stretches from the northeast to the southwest of the country, and its geological richness has not only led to the discovery of extraordinary fossils, such as those of Lucy, but has also shaped dramatic and unique landscapes, deep lakes, vast plains, active volcanoes, and mountains that rise majestically above the horizon. The majesty of the valley is not only visual, but also vital to life in the region. Its fertile soils, waters, and climate have allowed communities such as the Karo, Harar, and other tribes in southern Ethiopia to adapt and thrive in an environment that combines beauty, challenge, and abundance. Interestingly, the Rift Valley is also a natural laboratory of evolution. Geological changes have favored the diversity of species, both animal and human, turning the area into a place where the history of life can be read like an open book spanning millions of years. A majestic and unique place in the world, but surely less surprising than a region recognized as the hottest place on Earth. Located in northeastern Ethiopia, the Danakil Desert holds the title of being the hottest place on Earth. In this desert, temperatures can reach up to 60 degrees Celsius, posing an extreme challenge to the life of any animal species. Its surreal landscape, marked by extensive salt formations, acid geysers, and lava lagoons, offers a spectacle of harsh and desolate beauty. Despite its hostility, the Danakil Desert is inhabited by local communities who have adapted their lives to these extreme conditions in which most humans would not survive for more than a few hours. But this is not the case for the Afar tribe, one of the ethnic groups residing in this region, which has developed unique ways of life that allow them to survive in this hellish environment. These inhabitants tend to live in nomadic or semi-nomadic communities, moving according to desert conditions and the availability of resources. Their way of life includes salt harvesting and livestock breeding, essential adaptations for survival in such an inhospitable environment. In response to the harsh conditions of the desert, Afar tribes such as the Harar and Caro also practice polygamy, a tradition that helps them cope with the difficulties of desert life, such as scarce resources and intense labor. This practice allows for greater social cohesion and a more equitable distribution of responsibilities and resources among these families. As you can see in Ethiopia, this way of life, which involves a man having several wives, rather than a woman having several husbands and not the other way around, is quite common. In some communities, these practices have helped to ensure social and economic stability in an environment where conditions can be very difficult. Having multiple wives can be a way to ensure more offspring, which means more labor, especially in agriculture and herding. At this point, now that you have learned about the beauty of Ethiopia and its people and many of its mysteries, we would like to ask you, which of the tribes and traditions has surprised you the most? Would you dare to live in the Danakil Desert? Or how many goats or cows do you think you are worth? Or how much would your wife or husband be worth? Pause the video and leave us your comment. You know that doing so is the best way to help Uncensored World, so that every week we can research and create videos as interesting as this one. And don't forget to subscribe to Uncensored World if you haven't already, to discover the world in a unique and exciting way. We would love to have you with us and read your comments. Returning to the Danakil Desert, it is important to know that visiting it without proper preparation can be extremely dangerous. High temperatures, lack of water, and volcanic geography require meticulous planning. Travelers must have experienced guides and specialized equipment to ensure their safety. Extreme temperatures can cause dehydration and heat stroke, while volcanic terrain and toxic gas emissions add additional risks. Furthermore, due to the remoteness and harsh conditions, it is crucial to have a thorough understanding of the environment and be well equipped to face the challenges it presents. Despite the risks, the hottest place on Earth attracts adventurers and scientists alike, who seek to experience its unique landscape and study its geological and climatic features. The region offers a glimpse into one of the most extreme environments on Earth, and its unusual and formidable beauty makes it a fascinating destination for those seeking to explore the limits of life on our planet. In addition to its impressive geological and architectural wonders, Ethiopia offers two cities that seem frozen in time, providing a journey into the past through their architecture and daily life. One of the best examples is the walled city of Harar in the east of the country, which stands out for having been an important center of trade and Islamic culture and for its labyrinthine streets. But surely what makes the city of Harar unique is not so much the beauty of its streets, as one of the most surprising traditions that exists. In Harar, some locals risk their lives by feeding wild hyenas on the edges of the historic city walls. This tradition has been maintained for centuries, not for money or spectacle, but as a way of honoring the relationship between the community and nature, remembering that humans and animals share the same space and depend on each other for survival in this environment. The feeders, known for their courage and skill, do not drug or trick the animals. The hyenas are completely wild and can attack at any moment. The practice requires years of experience and a deep understanding of the behavior of these ferocious animals. It is said that hyenas recognize their keepers and respond to almost ritualistic signals during feeding, creating a unique bond that mixes respect, risk, and tradition, something that fascinates visitors and keeps one of Ethiopia's most daring cultural practices alive. In addition to these surprising realities, Ethiopia is famous for its impressive churches and houses built at extreme heights, carved into rocks and caves. This phenomenon is particularly notable in the Lalibela region and other mountainous areas of the country. There are multiple reasons for building at these extreme heights. Historically, life at high altitudes offered protection and isolation, helping communities defend themselves from potential invaders. In addition, building in rock and caves was a clever adaptation to the geographical and climatic environment, providing natural shelter from the extreme conditions in some regions of the country. That is why this fascinating architecture is not limited to Lalibela. In other regions of Ethiopia, such as the areas near the Rift Valley, there are also examples of dwellings and places of worship built in rocks and caves, often hundreds of meters above sea level, where isolated communities are still believed to live today. What is truly surprising is that entire societies have managed to live in these extreme locations, adapting their daily lives to heights and dangers that would be impossible for any of us. It was not just a matter of building dwellings or temples. These communities developed systems of access, food storage, and even defense against predators or invaders, demonstrating astonishing ingenuity and resilience. A fascinating curiosity is that, in some of these constructions, the inhabitants took advantage of air currents and the orientation of the rock to ventilate and keep their homes cool, demonstrating a deep knowledge of the natural environment, almost as if they had invented their own sophisticated ancient air conditioning systems. A beauty that is not only reflected in its nature and history, but also in the present of its people, as the Ethiopian race is recognized as one of the most beautiful in Africa. This country is located at the crossroads between Africa and the Arabian Peninsula, and this has a lot to do with it being home to a fascinating beauty that captivates those who know it. This unique blend of African and Eastern heritage has given rise to a population with a diversity of physical features that are both exotic and dazzling. That is why both Ethiopian women and men exhibit a beauty that reflects the convergence of multiple cultures, resulting in a unique appearance that combines African elegance and physical strength with the softness of Arab and Eastern features. This extraordinary beauty is also evident in the success of many Ethiopians in international beauty pageants, where they have won awards and recognition worldwide. In this way, each Ethiopian face tells a story of diversity, heritage, and beauty that transcends cultural boundaries, offering a captivating glimpse into one of Africa's most enigmatic and beautiful nations. It is precisely because of this rich heritage that Ethiopia is home to some of the most mysterious and extraordinary traditions on the planet, offering a fascinating glimpse into our shared history and ways of life that have endured throughout the centuries. One of Ethiopia's most surprising and controversial customs is that of marriage by abduction among the Ororo tribe. This ritual involves a man capturing a woman for the purpose of making her his wife. Although some consider it an ancestral custom, the most problematic aspect is that in many cases there is no consent on the part of the woman, and the abduction is carried out by force. This practice, which dates back to ancient times, has been defended for its cultural significance, but it has also raised many concerns about respect for personal rights and freedom. In ancient times, this custom was understood as a way to guarantee the union of two families and strengthen tribal alliances. It was believed that the capture of the bride symbolized the man's desire to establish a lasting relationship and consolidate his position within the community. Although it was a ritualized practice with certain codes, the lack of consent from the woman in certain situations have led to this ritual abduction gradually disappearing until it is now considered almost extinct. As you can see, Ethiopia is one of the most impressive and mysterious places on the planet, a place with endless curiosities, some of which have surely surprised you. But perhaps one of the most surprising facts for anyone who knows this place is that it was here that one of the most famous and appreciated beverages on the planet, coffee, was invented and discovered. Although today many associate coffee with countries such as Colombia or Vietnam, known for their excellent coffee, the history of this drink begins in a much more remote place, the highlands of Ethiopia. Thinking about coffee, we would like to ask you, what do you consider to be the best coffee in the world? Do you think coffee was discovered in Ethiopia, or do you think it happened in another country? We would love to read your comments, thank you. Be that as it may, legend has it that coffee was discovered by shepherds in the Kaffa region of Ethiopia in the 9th century, when they noticed that their goats became unusually energetic after eating the red berries of a particular bush in this remote region. In fact, as you may have noticed, the name coffee is believed to come precisely from Kaffa, paying homage to its origins and the land where the history of this beverage, now consumed all over the world, began. The shepherds, intrigued by the stimulating effect of these plants on their goats, began to experiment with the berries, initially preparing them in an infusion. They soon felt that this drink gave them wings, to the point of making it a fundamental element of Ethiopian culture, spreading to other regions of the continent and beyond. Today, Ethiopian coffee is known for its exceptional quality and wide variety of unique flavors, reflecting the diversity of the regions and altitudes where it is grown. Ethiopia remains one of the world's largest producers of quality coffee, and its coffee is acclaimed by connoisseurs and experts for its distinctive flavor profile and rich cultural heritage. The discovery of coffee in Ethiopia not only marked the beginning of one of the world's most popular beverages, but also underscored this country's deep connection to nature and its traditions. If you've come this far, you'd probably like to know how to get to Ethiopia, how to make the most of its culture and nature, and whether it's an affordable and safe country. That's why we at Uncensored World have done our research and brought you the most comprehensive information to make your trip unforgettable. To get to Ethiopia from the Americas, the most common option is to fly to Addis Ababa, the capital, with direct flights or stopovers from cities such as New York, Los Angeles, or Miami. From Europe, you can fly from cities such as London, Paris, or Frankfurt, usually with a stopover at international hubs such as Istanbul or Doha. As for visas, citizens of the United States and most European countries need a visa to enter Ethiopia, which can be obtained online as an e-visa before traveling. The process is quick, easy, and usually costs around $50 per person for a 30-day trip. Ethiopia is a relatively safe country for travelers, especially on the main tourist routes and in cities such as Addis Ababa or Bahir Dar. Crime levels are low compared to other African countries, although as with any destination, caution is advised in less traveled areas or at night. The cost of living in Ethiopia is very low, one of the cheapest in the world. For example, dinner for two can cost between $2 and $5, a mid-range hotel between $15 and $20 per night, and a coffee in Kaffa, the region of origin of this legendary beverage, can cost less than $1. This makes the country an ideal destination for those seeking authentic experiences without spending a fortune. To get around the country, the best option is to combine domestic flights between major cities and ground transportation to explore more remote regions. The main roads are in good condition, while in rural areas or towards the Omo Valley, four-wheel drive trucks are used due to the dirt roads and rivers that must be crossed. If your goal is to meet tribes such as the Harar, Caro or Ororo. There are organized excursions from cities such as Jinka or Turmi. Packages usually last between 3 and 5 days and include transportation, a guide, accommodation, and meals. Prices range from $300 to $500 per person, depending on the duration and level of comfort. Among the interesting facts that make these excursions valuable for travelers is the opportunity to participate in local markets, traditional ceremonies, and observe the interaction of the tribes with their natural environment. In addition, the guides explain the symbolism of rituals, clothing, and adornments, allowing visitors to understand the history and culture of these peoples in a profound and respectful way, which makes the experience much more than just a simple tourist trip. At Uncensored World, we hope that this tour of fascinating Ethiopia has been as exciting for you as it has been for us. With that in mind, and considering the effort that goes into making these videos, we would love for you to leave us a like and a comment. It's the best way you can help us continue to bring you the best content every week. If you enjoyed this video and are not yet subscribed, don't wait any longer and do so now by activating the bell so you don't miss the fascinating videos we make every week. Videos like this one that you can enjoy now, to discover one of the most fascinating corners of the planet. Don't miss out and discover the wonders this place has to offer.